It is media day, ladies and gentlemen. Basketball is right around the corner again. Training camp starts tomorrow. Preseason basketball is next Tuesday, and the regular season just a few weeks after that. But with media day always comes with it headlines, storylines from the front office and what they're saying, coaching staff, the players, and trying to pick apart their words, psychoanalyzing everything, reading body language, all of it. But I'll try and be as fair and objective as possible in reacting to some of the things we saw on Media Day. And so in this video, I'll be recapping and reacting to Media Day and going over some of the key highlights, as there was a lot to assess and digest. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So obviously, as they always do to kick off Media Day, they have AK provide his opening statement, which of course is a prepared written statement that he read from. I feel like AK used to do unprepared opening statements, and it was kind of all over the place when he would do that. And so Bulls PR decided to pivot and say, nah, we're going to have these statements be prepared and read from a piece of paper. But anyway, we got to hear from AK first, and in his opening statement, he emphasized and reiterated what he said at the end of the season, that they were committed to making changes both on and off the court. He then added, which they have, that obviously results from the last year were not what they wanted. They were unsatisfactory. However, it's given them the opportunity to pivot and take steps to adjust the team, and that is the start of what they're doing right now in reshaping the roster and how they move forward. He then went on to say and continued to emphasize this point throughout the presser, as did Billy Donovan, on their desire to play fast pace and with a more tough and energetic style of play. That said, and again, this shouldn't be a surprise considering what we know of AK and also his recent statements on 670 The Score last week, that their focus remains to win. Yes, their current focus is to still try and win as many games as possible, stating they will not undermine the integrity of the game. I believe that direct quote was, "We're here to win. Developing our players is crucial, but we won't sacrifice the integrity of the game just for the sake of development." He then would later go on to say, when directly asked about this, that their priority is not going to be about keeping that top 10 protected pick, but rather to define the style they want to play and build a new identity with this group, which I guess first reactions, not surprising. I mean, I know a lot of us don't want to hear that and find it preposterous that when you have your pick and it's top 10 protected in a stacked draft class in a season where you're not going to be very good, you're not going to be looking to compete for anything. But again, it's not a surprise given everything they have been preaching all offseason, and more importantly, AK style ever since he got here and wanting to win. I mean, he quickly revamped a rebuilding roster that he inherited and accelerated that timeline to try and be competitive now. Even though it backfired and failed, that mentality still has not changed. And the focus is now trying to thread this needle of still being competitive in a new roster iteration by going younger. AK did add that this isn't a finished product and that they're focused on building a team that is faster and more versatile. Again, common theme from Media Day in general, play faster, better pace, and energy, which yes, is needed given the Bulls have been bottom 5 in the league in pace the last 2 seasons. Now, they were asked how they're going to handle the starting lineup, how Zach Lavine fits in with the group and trying to develop the young players, how are they going to look defensively, and Billy Donovan wouldn't commit to what the starting lineup is going to be. No surprise there, they rarely do on Media Day. And Billy did talk about, yes, that there are going to be a lot of players who need the ball in their hands to be effective, most notably Josh Giddey, Zach Lavine, of course now with Lonzo Ball presumably returning, as well as Coby White. But he did compare it to the final year that he had in OKC, where they had Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder, and how he was able to navigate this situation and get the players to be more versatile on offense and sacrifice their touches. They also did say that Patrick Williams was ready to go, which is great. I think as a lot of us were a little concerned when we got the report out last week that he had a bit of a setback when they did that mini camp in Miami. What was concerning, though, on the injury front, and I know I'm skipping ahead here, but when Josh Giddey came to the podium, he mentioned that he hasn't played with the guys at all yet, and how what was thought to initially be just a minor ankle roll on that final possession that he played against in the Olympics, which I remember holding my breath when I saw that happen live, but that it was a bit more serious than what they had initially anticipated, and that it was actually an ATFL ligament tear, and that he's been sidelined since that game. First of all, what? Unless I just completely missed all the reporting on this, this was completely news to me, and at no point did we hear of this ATFL ligament and that he's still rehabbing from said injury and hasn't gotten back out there on the court yet. welcome to the Bulls. Come in, pick up your jersey and your newest leg injury. My God. Can Bulls point guards for once just not be cursed? Now, that said, he did add that he was on the cusp of returning. He's still not 100%, but he is nearly there and that the plan is for him to be available and playing on opening night. He mentioned how if this was the playoffs right now, he would be out there. But given it's the offseason, they're still a ways away from playing games, that they're taking the conservative approach and not rushing him back too quickly. But yeah, not something you want to hear on media day from the biggest offseason acquisition that the Bulls made. Giddey did have a lot of positive things to say about the guys, has really bonded with them thus far. Praised Zach Lavine for being a star in this league and that they've had a lot of conversations over the summer about how to complement his style of play. Mentioned how because he's a pass-first guy that Zach is going to be getting a lot of opportunities in the open court. Speaking of Zach Lavine, other big takeaway from media day is of course the ongoing saga that is Zach Lavine and his future with the team. But what I'll say is I was very impressed and pleasantly surprised with how Zach carried himself and his comments during the presser. First of all, he started off his interview with an opening statement before taking any questions, almost like a preemptive, I know you guys are going to ask me all these questions about trades, trade rumors, my commitment to the team, etc. But in that opening statement, he really shut down this narrative that has been building over the last year that have pit him against the organization. Talking about how he was excited to be back, that he's fully healthy now, first time he's been healthy in a while going into training camp. Talked about how he's in a much better place mentally, in a good headspace, really happy with his current situation, and more or less said what's in the past is in the past, and he's ready to move forward. He's learned a lot about himself in a long offseason, even emphasizing that unless words don't come from him or his camp, meaning Rich Paul, that it's really just rumors and speculation, and that everything else you hear can be taken with a grain of salt. Said he was very energized and looked forward to joining the guys for camp and that he's focused on doing whatever is best for the team and helping out in any way that he can. Now, this could just be lip service. This could just be him saying what needs to be said to the media to show that he's a team player, trying to repair some of his image so he can get traded. But this actually felt pretty genuine to me. I mean, Zach, for the most part, has always been very professional. So even if he was in fact disgruntled, he wouldn't cause a toxic situation in the locker room or refuse to play until he's traded. He's never been that type of guy. But something tells me that Zach is somehow bought into all of this, that he's fine with the new direction this franchise has taken and is probably looking forward to playing with a pass-first point guard and playing with a team that is focused on playing faster and with purpose. Again, this all could change come the start of the season and Zach struggles or isn't fitting well. The team starts losing a bunch of games and he gets frustrated, but for now, I was much more encouraged by what I heard from Zach and his commitment level, his demeanor, than I ever was before. Nikola Vucevic, on the other hand, though, looked as checked out as can be. And look, I know Vuce isn't the most expressive guy. He's always been very stoic and more reserved, but hearing him answer some of those questions was almost like it was sucking the energy out of him, like a man crying out for help to be relieved of his current situation. Yeah, he talked about how he's excited to get back on the court. Yeah, he said he was looking forward to seeing what Josh Giddey is going to bring from an offensive standpoint and how he'll be utilized differently in that regard. But yeah, man just does not look like he wants to be there. I mean, you can't really blame him either. Was traded here for a big haul to a team that wasn't really in a position to be trading for that kind of haul. Wanted to be competing toward the back half of his career, didn't work. Now he's on a team that is trying to prioritize youth when he's 33 years old and doesn't really have any options to go elsewhere in a trade. But anyway, the Bulls also talked to Lonzo Ball, which of course everyone is curious about his current status and whether he's expected to be ready to go on opening night. And of course, the big quote of the day when asked if we can expect him out there for that game against the Pelicans on the 23rd. And his response was, quote, "That's the goal." Which AK actually said at the start of the press conference when asked about Lonzo's status, but hearing it from Lonzo just meant a little bit more for some reason. He did add that obviously we can't really tell the future, but that's the plan that he's on, and that he thinks he'll be ready for the first game for sure. Lonzo did confirm that back-to-backs are not on the table for now and that he will be on some sort of minutes restriction. They just need to identify what that will be, what it will start at, and whether he'll actually ramp up those minutes towards the end of the season. While we all figured that was likely going to be the case, it had actually never really been confirmed until now when Lonzo said it today at Media Day. Now with Lonzo, while I think it's great, the progress he's shown to date, what he's had to go through and the challenges and setbacks he's sustained throughout his recovery process to get back to a place where he actually has an opportunity to return to the game that he loves is incredible. And I do think Lonzo will play this season, but so much is going to need to be determined at training camp as far as just how ready he's going to be. Like, 5-on-5 that he's been doing, that's great, even against other pros, but has really been watered down in terms of the level of competitiveness and physicality. Training camp is a whole new level of getting ready for the season, and of course, the games themselves, that takes the competitive level even further. Lonzo's knee, which he even said today is basically a new knee, is going to be tested unlike any other in the next few weeks before going into opening night. I'm optimistic and hopeful, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little wary that this man is going to be ready to go or won't have any setbacks when ramping up during training camp. The Bulls also talked to Coby White as well. For Coby, there wasn't really a ton of takeaways, just that he's been working hard all offseason. Him and Io were the ones actually who initiated and led that mini camp in Miami. I think the biggest takeaway from Coby's interview was he was obviously asked about his role going into the season now that Giddey has joined the team and obviously Zach Lavine is back and healthy. Coby, in true Coby fashion, because he's literally done it his whole career with the Bulls, has said that he's ready to take on any role they give him. Talked about one of his strengths being that he's a versatile player who can play on and off the ball. He obviously wants to carry his great season from last year going into this year, but wants to do what is best for the team. This is what I have grown to love about Coby White, is his willingness to do whatever is asked of him despite his improved play and rising to that level where he probably should be taking on a lead role. Always takes it in stride though, always been a team player. Anyway, all in all, I would say Media Day was about as one would expect in terms of what was discussed. I think the biggest thing was hearing that Giddey is still not 100%. That was the biggest surprise to me. And while I wouldn't say it was a Media Day where I could walk away super hyped of everything that we heard, I will say I am more excited about going into this season than last year's Media Day, knowing that expectations are low, and you have new guys on the roster that hopefully are going to make the games a little more fun with a new style of basketball and ignite some kind of energy into this fan base. But I would love to hear what you guys thought of the Media Day. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.